Welcome back, Smooth and Crypto. I'm your host, Maxwell Smooth. Today we have a special guest dude from Helios. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Super happy to be here.
Appreciate you coming on, man. I know it's a weeknight. 7 p.m. East is a little bit later for some people, but I think it's going to be really good for people to jump in here either after dinner, kind of have an earbud during dinner or something like that. If you're on Eastern time, but if you're on West Coast time, right, you're sitting at 4 o'clock right before. So I think it's a good middle
Yeah,
ground for people for a weekday stream.
yeah. And I'm not a morning person, so this evenings work for me for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's morning. I did the 8 o'clock with Jake last Sunday, and that 8 a.m. Eastern time was I woke up early just to get a few cups of coffee in me before getting on there because I needed to, get a little bit of shot of juice before I jumped on stream for an hour plus. And I thought we were gonna just do an hour, but we ended up going almost 2 hours, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I take that as a positive sign. That you have so much to talk about. You're going over as opposed to like struggling to find content. And get to a duration you're looking for.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And with this one, I'm okay with going shorter than an hour, going longer than an
yeah.
hour. So I'm not going to force anything, right? We're just going
No.
to talk about some things and go through the project and just kind of give some people some insight of what's going on because this project, has been one of the ones that I've been looking at and kind of very excited to see go live because this has a lot of great things that other projects typically don't have yet. But nonetheless, right, it is a project similar to TitanX built on top of TitanX, right? But the main thing is using TitanX for your miners instead of ETH. And it's a big aspect of getting a lot of TitanX off of the market liquid wise, and kind of gives you another incentive to not only you know get rid of some of the liquid TitanX, but also put your TitanX to work. And I think it's a really great idea for Helios to do that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. And I like what Jake added with the build on Titan X, on his stats page. And I'm excited to get a piece of that pie for sure.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah, and
yeah,
and I think you will. I mean,
yeah,
especially with the pretty aggressive tight necks you need, the amount you need for max miners, and a lot of people, of course, going into tight necks have done max miners. That has been the biggest thing. And, there's benefits of doing smaller power miners and stuff like that, but a lot of people go max miner or nothing, in my opinion. And having your project start off with a pretty high amount of Titan to get a max miner, I think it's really smart to get a big piece of that BOT, you know, pot.
right. And I mean, just you can always go as little as 1% power level. For the people that aren't trying to go all in with it or they can't afford however much. There's a miner for everybody out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, and just to jump into a little bit, right? Hold on, there we go. Kind of the first thing I had, right, was the diagram. I think this is one of the most important things to kind of get what Helios is trying to accomplish. And obviously
Yeah.
it all stems and starts from the HLX miners that you have, but
Hmm.
what in your idea is uh the main purpose of getting that Titan X into the treasury, into the cycle reward pool and investment pool, because it seems like obviously the treasury is very important, and that treasury is going to be super important long term as this daily update kind of goes its term.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, it's yeah. The treasury is, where it's the beginning of things. Really, I guess let me start from the beginning. Beginning. It's the buy and burn. That's the main mechanic that entices, miners to do what they do and mine. And with this mechanic that we've got going on, our buy and burn pool is fueled by not just the miners, but also the treasury and the
Mhm.
investment pools. And that's where we get our perpetual burn coming from, and initially it's gonna be fueled by miners, and then slowly take over to where uh, all of the mining will go to the treasury as opposed to directly to the buy and burn. Um, like the idea here is like one TitanX going from mining to the buy and burn pool is one immediate liquid TitanX. But you put one TitanX into our treasury, I calculated roughly 227 days to get 100% ROI on a TitanX stake. So you put one TitanX into our treasury. After 227 days, approximately, you're getting one TitanX from the treasury into the buy and burn pool. And
Wow.
then from that point on, it's all extra, free, you're free riding at that point,
Mhm.
and it's max staked forever. So as that grows, it's only gonna fuel even more and more into that buy and burn.
I really
To
like
me,
that.
that's like, yeah, it gives to me it gives miners more confidence when they're setting a max miner, and going 250 days. They know that buy and burn pool is going to be there to continue bringing that upward buy pressure.
Yep. And with that buy and burn pool, is there a specific amount that it's going to be used throughout the duration of it, or can it be fluctuating depending on the
Yeah.
balance of it? Kind of explain a little bit on that.
Yeah, it's going to be controlled by the DAO. And it's got the same parameters that like you would see with TitanX, where you can set the amount per swap and how often you can make the swap. And then of course with ours, we're going to have ETH and TitanX. So it's going to be doing, buying ETH. It'll be buying TitanX with the ETH, and then TitanX it will be used to buy the HLX. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and if for people that don't understand how with going into the Uniswap and using the Titan X, how is that necessarily buying the HLX?
I mean, yeah, because our only market pair is against TitanX. So the only way that you can buy HLX on the market with ETH would be to go through the ETH TitanX pool. And then from there, you go to the TitanX Helios pool. So all the ETH coming from our treasury is going to be used to buy TitanX first. And we put out a graphic on that on how that supports both protocols, us and TitanX.
Okay.
That Yeah.
And if you wanted to pull that up or anything, we definitely can. Um,
Okay. Uh,
it
yeah, you have to
seems
give me a minute to find it.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems really awesome. The kind of slow taper off, how things are going into the reward pool, right? And well, not the the buy and burn HLX and the treasury as well. So, kind of go over what you think and kind of how and why you started the taper off aspect of it, because I think it's a really interesting thing to slowly taper off of buy and burn uh, of the HLX and
Yeah.
also the treasury.
Yeah. So like my initial plan was, I had 60% going directly to the buy and burn, and then 10% going to the treasury. And then the feedback I was getting is you're not going to have enough Titan going into your treasury to make a difference. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then came back with, well, we'll just do 10% straight to the buy and burn, and then 60% run that straight into the treasury. And then with that, concept. The problem is you don't get one TitanX going into the treasury is only going to produce you like 0.03 TitanX immediately coming out of it. It needs time to get your ROI back out of that. So that's when
Mhm.
I came up with the strategy to, initially majority of it's going straight into the buy and burn. So we've got immediate buying power, and that buy and burn's immediately fueled and will run for months on end. And then, like this is a weekly schedule. Once a week, we tick, 0.5% down to the directly to the buy and burn, and 0.5% more into the treasury. And so we'll slowly fade out directly feeding the buy and burn, because like initially we're going to have a shit ton of TitanX going straight into it. And then
Mhm.
that'll, like I said, will carry us. And then as our treasury slowly builds up, we can slowly put more towards that. And, like towards the end, the treasury is going to be feeding the buy and burn more so than mining directly, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's going to be.
it
You can go ahead.
Yeah, just over time, you're getting much more value out of your TitanX going through the treasury. The thing is we just got to make sure that the protocol is got a good kickstart, and you feed that buy and burn, and then that'll give us the fuel to go the distance to allow the time for our treasury to build up and really start reaping in those rewards.
Hmm. Yeah, I think initially having a very heavy buy and burn kind of will give the people starting those miners a very good understanding, like, hey, this project is going to be here for a long time. We are starting with buy and burn. I think it'll give you a big portion in kind of creating those LP, the liquidity pair of HLX and Titan X, and it'll create a really good pair. And if the main thing is giving Titan X another main side to it, right, of Helios, I think having that buy and burn and creating that heavier Helios side will be really good for not only the miners but also your liquidity pair on Uniswap. I think that's a really good aspect of this project. And, you know, although the treasury is very important, and I think over time it's going to prove to be even more important, I think having that buy and burn heavy in the beginning is going to give you that initial pump that you really need to see for this project to go the distance. And, you know, and I think it will. I mean, it's going to be one of the, hopefully one of the first projects being built, right? Obviously, Dragon X is out, but if it's, I think in the next, if it's top 3 or 4, I think you're going to be very, very happy with how it turns out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, people are worried about them, taking over the stake pool, and it's like so early in this game, and with all these protocols coming out, like we definitely will get a piece of that pie. Like there's no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're 95 days in, 96 days in or whatever. I mean, if we're talking about the daily update going to be 2000 days from the start or whatever, like we are so
Yeah.
early still in my opinion that a lot can happen, and I think it can blow people's minds more so than they ever think. And it's so early. I just can't stress it enough. I know it feels like it isn't,
Hmm.
because things in crypto move so fast, right? I mean, it just a week feels like an eternity in crypto if you're really paying attention. So, 90 we're very early, and I truly
Hmm.
think, you have time as well as a dev. I mean, cuz Bitcoin hasn't even done a halvening yet this year, right? I mean, there's a lot of
Hmm.
uh calendar things that are going to happen this year that, as long as, in my opinion, as long as it's before that, we should be all good. I mean, a lot of these
But
projects are going to release.
we're very confident that we can get this out in February. And I don't really want to put any dates to it yet because you know how people can get upset when you don't hit those.
100%.
I'd rather be 100% sure and then give people a good general idea. Right now it's February, and then as we get closer, we can say it's going to be at this week, and then uh, you know we'll definitely have, a few days of notice to let people know, like, hey, this is our launch day. Get ready. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're talking a few weeks. Like, that's nothing compared to the long game of TitanX that's here to come.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think the having a hard date and not hitting that hard date is, I'm not saying it's detrimental because you can bounce back from
Mhm.
it, but it really does hurt the anticipation of a project. And I think given a hard date
Yeah.
and not knowing for sure if you're going to hit that date is tough to
Right.
bounce back from.
Right.
So I think it's smart that you're gradually getting into that date. So
Yeah.
which is completely fine. I don't rush it. I'd rather the code be where it needs to be and your audits being where they need to be and stuff
Uh,
to
yeah.
long term wise. If you're,
Right.
I'm assuming you're just going to let the contract speak for itself and the DAO run
Uh,
it basically.
yes. 100%. 100%. I'm super excited to get the governance going and getting people talking about, what are we going to be doing with our stacks of ETH in this investment pool? Like there's thousands of strategies out there, and I'm excited to see what people are going to want to put that towards, and I imagine lots, low, medium, and high risk plays. Like we can hit them all. And the whole idea is to have that diversified portfolio to where it's extremely stable. We have extreme stable flow of assets to our buy and burn and to our reward pools.
Yep.
That just will just keep miners mining. And that's the full circle. Miners mine, fill the treasury is filling the investment pool, and then from all three of those sources, the buy and burn and the reward pools, it's just it'll be perpetual, no
I,
doubt.
I really like that. And that's, one of the things about this project is the investment pool for me, right? Obviously,
Mhm.
we have a lot of great aspects of it, but I think the investment pool is going to be one of those things that not only creates a stickiness within the protocol because you won't rely so heavily on TitanX and ETH in the future, right? And obviously, in the beginning, it's going to be a very, very important aspect to it. But
Yeah.
to create more and more stickiness for your protocol, you technically need more value. And what easier way to bring more value than to bring other coins and other tokens along into your protocol and incentivize the users of Helios and HLX and stuff. So I think it's the investment pool is super super bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to see like it pulling in fresh ETH, from outside the ecosystem, and again, all of that ETH to get anywhere near HLX, you've got to buy TitanX first, so this is bullish for everybody involved. And I like the idea of, investing in other protocols within the ecosystem as well.
Hmm.
Like there's room for all different kinds of strategies. Like I said, low, medium, high risk. Uh, yeah, and I just imagine like throwing 1,000 ETH at some, degen play that 10x's, 100x's, or whatever, and just takes off. Like the sky's the limit on what this could do. But in the investment pool, the principal balance is always going to be there as ETH flows into it. It's going to have that value that's not leaving. We're
Hmm.
only taking off the yield aspect of it. So even if the treasury slows down, our investment pool is going to be sticky. Like you said, it's going to stick around, and it's always going to be feeding that buy and burn, which again always incentivizes miners.
Yep. Yeah, and TitanX is the gatekeeper to all the miners, right? You need to buy TitanX to get miners,
Mhm.
and that's the only way to actually get HLX, right? I mean, you can buy it off of open market, of course, right? But
Yeah.
for the value of HLX, depending on how long and whatnot, what type of power you want to do and stuff like that. TitanX is a very, very important thing in your ecosystem. And if that's the gatekeeper to all of the other type of plays, because in my opinion, all it takes is a couple good things from the investment pool to get a lot of eyes on Helios. And if they
Mhm.
start reading in, they're like, "Oh, I got to get TitanX to get into this and that to get." It's going to be very awesome to see, in my opinion, because, like you said, I mean, you can go medium, high, low risk, whatever the case may be, with the Dow wants to do, and um, sky's the limit. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you can kind of say that Helios is backed by a portfolio, that's, and we'll have, 10 plus different, tokens, that are all doing their own thing, individual of what HLX or TitanX is doing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and do you see in the beginning it being, for the investment pool more so, Titan X community coins heavy or other coins?
I have ideas, and my initial idea was, yeah, let's go straight in and let's buy in on these other Titan X protocols. Let's support our own.
Mhm,
But then, to me, that could be considered a medium or a high risk play, considering that we're already all in on Titan X as it is.
mhm,
I like the idea, but personally, I think I would prefer like starting with something outside the ecosystem to, and like I said, ensure that stickiness no matter what happens with Titan X. We've got, because it's designed to be our backup on backup, the
mhm,
fail safe on fail safe. And if we're going in the Titan X ecosystem, that, can be not considered a fail safe on a fail safe. But I
yeah.
like the idea of becoming whales of other protocols in the ecosystem. Like that's cool to me too.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's a leverage on a leverage, right? If Titan X is a
right.
leverage on Ethereum, that would be a
Yeah.
leverage on the leverage, and that's when the gains are absolutely crazy. But like you said, that's definitely
Yeah.
more on the medium to high risk side
Yeah.
of an investment pool.
Yeah. Not on its own, but when you
Hmm.
consider that our portfolio starts with our V1 treasury that's all in on Titan X, that's considering that, I think it would be a high risk play. But again, I'm excited to see the governance talks on what people think are the best strategies. And I think there's a lot of smart people out there that can make some awesome suggestions. And we could devise any kind of strategy we want, because it'll be, once that's, the strategy is decided on, we will build a custom smart contract that'll interact with exactly with the way we want it to, and then just start, dumping ETH into it in a decentralized manner, and just
Hmm.
hands off, letting it go, and I'm excited to just the thoughts of just constantly being in development, building more and more treasuries, like the second one treasury is completed and we get that audited and it's released and it's in use, then we're immediately looking at, all right, what's the next thing we're going to build, you know?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. And I could see this just how it's infinite, how many treasuries we could have.
Yeah, it's a big snowball effect when you really start thinking
Yeah.
about it a lot. And in the beginning, it might be a little slower, right? But I
Mhm.
think with time and with your daily update, that's constantly every day going to be happening. It's going to really prove the test of time, and the governance is going to be very very important. And if everything is decentralized and it's just smart contracts doing what they're doing, then sky's the limit. It truly
Yeah.
is. I'm very excited about that aspect. And
Yeah.
and with the governance, what exactly will dictate people's votes? So is it the amount of Helios you have, or HLX, or is it just being in the protocol, or is it staked Helios? Like, is that going?
It's not set yet, and that's still kind of being debated on. But I like the idea of, obviously, holding HLX is going to give you a vote,
Yep.
but I think holding stakes should give you maybe even more of a vote, or having miners, in your wallet that could give you, like rewarding, like we want people that are entrenched in the Helios ecosystem making, their voice be heard, because they've got the most skin in the game. It's not
Hmm.
just somebody just buying a ton of HLX off the market and then swaying a vote, and then dumping it afterwards. Like, I like the idea of, people that are max staked and people that are in max miners. Like, those are the people that are much more interested, and they have much more skin in the game.
Yeah.
Um,
And you could really go a lot of different ways with it. And that's the
mhm.
interesting thing about it, right? And it seems like the governance thing won't be, will that be on the initial first setup, or will that be a secondary thing after the Treasury V1 is fully out there?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we launch, we're going to start the governance talks. I mean, we need, while the investment pool is filling up, that's just, we can't design a smart contract up front. So up front, the investment pool is just going to be, a multi-signature wallet with time locks on it until governance gets kicked in and we've got people mining and staking and we're able to do decentralized voting. Then at that point, we can really get into these strategies. And there's a lot of parameters to set, like what are we doing with that yield, like how much of that is going to the reward pools, how much of that's going to the burn pool, you know like it's going to be open to what's best for the ecosystem. And that's another thing that I think is cool is, like, you know, we don't know what the crypto world's going to look like 5 years from now. But having a DAO makes us more flexible because, 5 years from now, we're going to have this thing in full motion. And we'll have, once we're ready to start, V9 treasury, we'll have a better idea of what's going to perform in the future. We're not rigid sticking to just investments that are on the horizon right now. It's, in the future we can make those assessments. And I think that'll make it even, more of a sticky, treasury there, that just, it accumulates. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And having that flexibility is really important, right? Because all we
Yeah.
know at the current time is how crypto and smart contracts and DAOs and all that stuff worked in the past, right? And all we can view is the past. So having that future outlook and flexibility, I think, is very important. And it's very eminent in your design of your protocol that that is a very important aspect of what you guys got going on, and the long term aspect of, hey, if you're in this protocol, not only are we thinking about the future, but we want you to be sure that, hey, we know that you want longevity just as much as we do, and we're going to have that flexibility for you. I think that's super super important, and it's
Yeah.
evident with how you set it up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, and it'll create more of a community, having a DAO and more engagement, and I think that just helps snowball the entire system when, we're talking, on Twitter about what the next investment's going to be for Helios,
Hmm.
and we've got, 1,000 ETH that's going to go to whatever protocol, like that'll get people's attention as well, you know.
100%. And depending on how you do the governance, right? Because uh in my opinion, it's, I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't do, right? But having liquid, having staked, having miners going, it's all going to be a certain percentage in how many votes you have, right? It's either max votes you can have, or is it going to be unlimited? And it's going to be a combination of the three. And it's going to be really cool to see kind of where you take it and
Mhm.
how it goes, because, at the current aspect, right, you'll have the app and then the governance side, right? And it'll be technically two separate dApps, or is this going to be more of like kind of like a GitHub kind of thing?
Yeah, snapshot. Like we'll create our own Helios snapshot community. And they've got all the tools that we need to set it up exactly how we want it to operate. And I would imagine you have to have a certain amount of HLX in your wallet to be able to propose, new things and all those types of things.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, you're getting a lot of you know, tokens for. Let's go to the daily update. You're getting a lot of tokens per day, right? Or the start of it, and
Yes.
how many you're getting, right? So you're getting a lot of tokens, and over time, it's going to drop off tremendously. I mean, it's a very aggressive bottom curve, but I'm interested to see how you do it because with a lot of tokens, right? With the higher token dollar amount, right? It would be easier to say, hey, you have one token, this is one vote. You know what I mean? And things like that. Or you could do based on how many you have, this is how much power of one vote, or I don't know, but this daily update that you have is going to be very aggressive and long term aspect of it. I'm really interested to see how that affects in the governance side of things.
hmm Yeah, I mean
So,
it's a leverage play on TitanX, which
mhm.
is a leverage play on ETH. This is this is awesome. This is huge, and I'm ready to launch this.
100%. Yeah, and I think people don't realize the aspect of leverage on leverage, right? Obviously when you're trading on accounts, right, and doing leverage, in my opinion, that's really risky, right? And
Uh,
you can get nuked. But in
mhm.
this aspect, it is if you're already in projects and you're like, hey, I want the most bang for my buck, leverage on leverage for smart contract wise is where you want to be, in my
Yeah.
opinion, right? I deal with how I invest in bullets, and I can't help myself but to send a couple bullets at things like this.
Mhm.
I really can't because I know how fast they can really explode if they're done right and if they have the community. And TitanX seems like it has it, and Helios not only will have part of the TitanX community, but it will have other parts of the community as well with the investment pool.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
It's gonna look really. It's gonna be awesome. And one of the questions I had is with the daily update, are all of these gonna basically hit max length on the same day? Because it's hard to see on when they're gonna do it, but it seems like generally they're gonna hit on the same day.
Yeah, I mean they're all on pretty much the same clock. Yeah, I would say that. So the parameters are pretty similar to Titan X as it is, as far as the scarcity, how fast it gets into that scarcity level. Ours is just tweaked just a hair faster.
Yep.
And then we tweaked our reward pools that they're going to cycle much faster. The premier being the 420 day. Uh, that's half of the Titan X's cycle.
Yep. Yeah, and I like the numerology you went for. That it's pretty nice too. Um, but
Yeah,
I I
it's a
think
fun spin on things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but I really like how your daily update ends before Titan X's daily update, right? And you gave
Mhm.
yourself some room in between of when Titan X started and when you're going to launch too. So it gave you, it seems like a whole year ish, a little bit more than a year ish before that happens, and it just allows your to Helios to really mature to full length before Titan X matures to full length. So I really like that aspect of it, and I'm all for the daily update. Daily update is one of the most important aspects of all of these things, and if you're an actual long term investor, it just gives you so much confidence for the future.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. And one of my favorite things, is the stake pool. Like earning Titan X and ETH. at the same time, that's like getting realized gains without having to sell anything. Like just staking the HLX puts ETH in your wallet.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, you get more TitanX to put, into more layer twos. Like you're not having to sell out on your position without still putting, ETH back in your pocket, which is what we're all here for, right?
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, and
um,
with the investment pool, you have the potential of getting more tokens besides those two, and that's really a cool aspect of it.
mhm.
Yeah, so depending on what the HLX holders vote on, right, it will acquire yield bearing tokens for the Helios ecosystem. So a portion of all this pool, right, if Titan X gets super scarce or ETH gets super scarce in the platform, but we have three or four different other tokens, then the possibility of you getting, five, six different tokens or however many tokens you have for distribution, uh, that's as good as it gets in my opinion.
Yeah, 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 super awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really like that. And
yeah.
what I think Titan X share rate slowly goes down. I could be mistaken, but I think
N-
it slowly goes down. So what
No,
what
it
is
goes
your
up. It slowly gets more expensive, just
yeah,
like
that's what
the mining does.
mhm,
We went with the steady rate because we saw that early adopters can easily get entrenched in the Titan X stake pool. And we wanted to discourage that. We pulled the bigger stakes, get a bonus. We pulled that out to where whether you're a whale or a shrimp, like you're getting the same value for your HLX. And then it goes for the same as like whether you're staking on day one or day 1,000, you still have that a chance to get the same amount of that share pool. Um, that to me, like that's and we shortened the duration of our staking as well. Like you're not having to lock up your tokens for 10 years to get maximum returns. Maximum bonuses is on 830 days, which
mhm,
is and I set that just so that you can't do a max stake and hit 3 of the 420 payout days. You're going to get just shy of that. So
yep,
a max stake will get you 2 full cycles. And to me, that's you're getting all the benefits of doing a max stake with all the bonuses without having to commit as much to it. And just to me, I think that's what that was some of the feedback that we got, that they, when we first came out, we had longer stake durations and people were wanting shorter. And to me, that makes sense, and, just like now, if, with people that have staked their Titan X and they've locked it in for 10 years and now it's getting diluted and they're worried about their stake, with us, you can pull out, much sooner if you decide for whatever reason you need to. So
yep, yeah. I really like that. I mean, a lot of people when they originally one of the first days happened in Titan X, right? And people did the max length stakes, the 3,500 days and everything. And the original aspect of Hyper was, you're going to be able to do liquid Titan X and your stakes and that. Now it's changed. And people are like, oh, well, I'm getting diluted very heavily in the staking pool. And what am I supposed to do? Just hold this for 10 years in here? And I'm like, no, yeah, you shouldn't have any expectation on anything to happen in the future, in my opinion, right?
yeah.
But this at least will give you, right, like not as many days to wait, right? Regardless of
Mhm.
what happens. And if they see the benefit of staking, right, and having the aspect of getting Titan X, ETH, and possibly other coins as well, I think it's a reasonable amount. You have the flexibility to, if you want to take that penalty after half the time or whatever, you can take it and get your HLX out, or right after it's done, you say, right after, yeah, I can just either keep it liquid or put it back in, and uh, a lot of crypto moves super fast, and although it seems like a lot shorter time than 3,500 days, It's still a long time, but it's not, you know, 5 times longer, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of those people, I've got TitanX that is max staked, and I know my personal stash is going to get diluted, but I still feel 100% confident that, I will get the ROI will be there, you know. Like, I
Yep.
mean, we're talking over 10 years. And then still, like, even at the end of that, I still get my Titan X back.
Yep.
Like I don't see any downsides to that, and HLX will be the same way. You can throw all of it into there and get your rewards and still, if for whatever reason you need something liquid, you can get that back, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and it really allows the smart contract to prevent soft hands, sorry, paper hands, right? And depending on what the market's doing, some people's emotions are so crazy, right? I've been in crypto for quite a long time, right? And I've held through some crazy things. So I wouldn't
Mhm.
need to lock it up, but at the same time, for me, locking it up still gives me like, all right, well, that's in there. I can just set it and forget it. And at the
Yeah.
end of the 3,500 days, I'm going to get it all back anyway. So I will at least be able
Yeah.
to see how this project panned out over 3,500 days. And then in your case, a little bit shorter of time, So
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. And that's one of the aspects of this that will take off liquid HLX, right? And you have the benefit of reaping all the rewards over the time in it anyway. So it allows you to do it. But hey, you don't have to stake it full length, right? You can just
Yep.
do it less
Yep.
and take less payouts, and that's fine too, right? And
Mhm.
if you want to do 3 or 4 weeks or something, you have the ability to do it. So totally up to the user. And some people have a little bit higher of a stomach, right? A stronger stomach to just withstand any ups or downs or whatever the case may be. But I think having the shorter aspect is super, super important.
Yeah, everybody's got a different strategy, and like that's another thing to love about these mechanics of mining and staking is the game theory behind it and all the different things that you can do with it, with the utility behind them.
Yep. Yeah. And so in your opinion, for the users doing the incentive to call pool payout distribution function, do you think the 0.3% is going to be something that people try to fight over to get to it? Do you think it's
Uh,
going to be a very profitable thing to call that function?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would imagine that there's, arbitrage bot people out there that know how to build scripts that can, design something for these,
Yep.
and I had to, for the investment pool, or the treasury as well, like I had to put a cap on the ETH, to point 0.1 because imagine, you got this massive wallet that gets that 888 day payout, like somebody, 0.1% could equal, multiple ETH,
Hmm.
so, I was like, well, let's go ahead and cap that at point 0.1, which would be plenty incentive for somebody to call that function.
100%. Yeah. And when I was just reading the burn paper, and I was like, point one is, it doesn't sound like a lot, but then I started doing some math behind it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, if it gets crazy, I mean, this can be super profitable to run it. And even at
Mhm.
like say, I don't know what the percentage going to be for that point one and how much that's actually going to be, but I still could see at when ETH hits crazy gas fees, that's still being profitable depending on what we're doing in it. So that was one of my questions with the gas fees. Do you think the percent is going to be still profitable to do if we see higher gas fees or roughly the same gas fees as we saw last bull run?
Yeah, I don't see it being an option, and ETH's still coming out with upgrades to help with gas fees, and oh, we're in trouble if it's point 0.1 ETH per transaction. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't
Uh,
agree more. And
yeah.
0.1 ETH for a gas fee is insane. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, that creates kind of big ballers in the system, right? Only the big people can have movability within protocols. So um, they're working on it, and I think with time they're really gonna fix some things. So I'm
Mhm.
interested to see how that goes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So another question I had was the so it says the power level 1% to 100,000%. Um, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but if you could just explain that a little bit, that would be awesome.
It's instead of batch mining, like say you want to start 10 miners, instead of batch mining 10 100 power level miners, you can just start one 1000% level miner. And then, the cost will be 1000%, which would be 10x your cost, and then your reward would be 10x. So it's our solution to batch mining, and that's something that we got talking to Jake, and that's the same kind of setup that he's going to do with Hyper. And I think he spoke about it on a stream somewhere,
I think with
and
crypto kindness.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it just makes more sense gas wise, and then going all the way down to 1% allows the people with fewer funds to still be able to participate, at whatever level they want.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, and on top of that, for the way your miners look on the dashboard, it would still be nice to just see one big miner. This is how much it costs, and that kind of stuff. So I like that instead of having 100 miners or 1,000 miners. You know what I mean? I think that's
yeah.
I really okay. That makes way more sense. In my head, I was just like, I don't. I kind of got it, but that cleared it up.
hmm Yeah, and 100,000%. That's like starting 1,000 miners all at once. Which
Yep.
are we gonna see that? That's another thing that I'm excited to look at is, are we gonna see someone do 100,000% miner? That would be super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's possible. I mean, you never know. In
Mm,
crypto, there's some
yeah.
big guys that just will come out of nowhere and just drop some money in there. So I would love to see it, but yeah, I'm interested to see if that
Uh,
happens.
Yeah, it's unlikely. But I think, yeah, there you'll see plenty of 1,000% miners, and or 2,000 or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
I
but
still need to devise my plan, because I definitely intend on participating in this myself. I believe wholeheartedly in this protocol, and I'm going to be there too on day one, just like
yep.
Jake was on TitanX with day one. That's I'm a believer.
Yep. I really like that, and not having some ICOs and stuff like that, it not only helps the life of the project, in my opinion. You don't have any actors that could be, people rely on to boost the project or you worried about dropping the project or anything like that. And Jake in my last stream was talking about how since he did a fair launch, a lot of people that are doing building on Titan X are also doing fair launches. And like you said, if you want to get in, you're getting in on day one, just like everybody else. And it kind of creates a you know non pressure, right? You didn't siphon off a whole bunch of coins to yourself before the project even happened, right? And you get in, right? You have the decentralized ability to be just a wallet on the contract, interacting with it like everybody else too. So
Yeah.
you won't have the microscope on yourself the whole entire time you do it, and it's on how much you want to put in yourself as well. So it's not just creating wealth out of nowhere and you took 15-20% of the coins or whatever. So um and it's all
That's
based on yeah.
That's something that I'd like to. I'm kind of proud of myself as well. Is we're only taking 2% for the Genesis wallet,
Hmm.
and then when it comes to the treasury, there's no fees on that. When it comes to the investment pool, there's no fees. So, 100% of that's going to the ecosystem.
Yep.
Um, it's to me like that. As an investor myself, I want the best for the ecosystem.
Hmm.
And then when it comes to burning TitanX, you get a 8% cash back for burning TitanX. We split that with you, 4% Genesis and 4% back to the user.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think you did as fair as you could make it. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I'm always in the thinking of, right, people got to get paid, right? Especially if you're
Mhm.
putting all this time and effort and work in, right? And you have multiple people working on it. People got to get paid, and people have to be rewarded for putting in an effort, and not only an effort, but cultivating people together, cultivating an idea together, right? And in my line of work, if I didn't get paid for what I did, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? So I think it is totally fair, and I think 2% is a modest amount, and although it can amount to a lot, it's still right. It's not 10%, right? It's not 15%, and I
Yeah.
think 2% is a fair amount. And at the end of the day, you're still splitting those burn rewards as well. So I
Mhm.
think it's a totally fair amount. And it wasn't a deciding factor for me, but that also helped me in thinking like, okay, this project is going to have the test of time because of just how fair it actually is, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and that's my thoughts on it is I don't need to take any more than that because I'm confident that this system will run.
Yep.
And in the long run, 2% is going to be way more than enough, and at that point. And I'm excited to do giveaways with some of that, or marketing or just bonuses in general of some sort. Like there's so many fun things that I can do with that to even bring more engagement in and more people to the protocol.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really fair. And having that possibility in the future of doing giveaways or different things, because you could do so much with it, right? Or nothing, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to move it. You could do stuff with it or not, and it's totally up to Genesis. I'm okay with whatever, right? Because people didn't ICO this. I think
Mhm.
the Genesis grows with the growth of the platform, and I think that is the most fair thing. And like you said, you can do a lot with it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm
I'm
excited.
yeah, I'm really excited, man. I think what you got here is awesome. And we'll read through some of the chat just to see what people are saying. But overall, I think this has been a great live. Right, we went over a lot of different things. I'm sure either when it goes live, I'd love to have you back on. I mean, it's been a great conversation, and um, yeah, people seem to be pretty excited about it. And it's got a lot of little tweaks on top of TitanX, right? I mean, if it's generally the
Mhm.
same thing, but you have some different thought processes on what you can do differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and just I'm excited to see the stats, and go on a stream like this and just like you're going with Jake on like, okay, we've hit 90-day payout. How many millions drop to these holders, and like it'll be exciting for me to be doing that same thing and going over those stats.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's going to be. I'm not promising anything, but at the same time, I'll be able to do it. Projects like Helios and TitanX, right? There's so many stats coming out every single day that I'm able to do almost daily uploads on top for TitanX, right? And I might be able to do it on Helios as well if things are going the way I think they're going to go, which is really cool. And at the very least, I'll be able to have them
Mhm.
either wrapped into the daily update TitanX, right? Or I'll just have a daily update video on the whole entire, uh, you know, all the projects too. So I think it's really cool idea that you're doing, but
Ecosystem.
also
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so that's when I heard that TitanX was a layer 2 technically, right? And projects were being on top of it. The daily update is not only for the daily update of TitanX, but also the daily update of the ecosystem.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be really cool to see where Helios takes it.
Yeah. So do you consider TitanX? Because I feel like everyone's kind of calling it the layer one, and Helios would be the layer two.
Yeah,
What do you
it
think? It,
yeah, I think it's a layer one on a layer one, in my opinion. I said layer two, I kind of misspoke, but a layer one on a layer one, and Helios is yeah, a layer two on a
Mhm.
layer one, in my opinion, because
Yeah. Yeah.
what we're using for ETH is mainly gas fees and payouts and stuff like that, and we're using their blockchain right as a launch pad, right? But TitanX is the launch pad for this ecosystem.
Oh yeah.
So I think we have the being on top of ETH is really good for what we're building as an ecosystem. And then yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I think it's a layer two on a layer one. Helios is.
Yeah. And how soon do you think we'll start seeing layer threes? That's I think that's inevitable as well.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
gonna be
just a cherry on top. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's when you really think about it, right? I mean, crypto has in my opinion, people put a glass ceiling on it, right? We think we know where it could go, but it can go much farther, right? And especially with this
Mhm.
ecosystem, we have a layer 2 and then a layer 3 built on top of that, and then craziness when you start getting into layer 4, layer 5, layer 6 of possibilities, right? And it's just this spider web of projects being built on top of each other and working together and going in tandem with each other. So, uh, layer 3 wise, I think after the 280 day, somewhere after 280 day, I think that's when we have for Titan X a lot less inflation. We have a ton of projects being built on top of it, and it's like, all right, we're solidified. We should be solidified at that point. Then I think some people are gonna have some good ideas on some layer threes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm already interested, and I've already got ideas myself for layer threes. Building on top of HLX. It's just it's exciting. You know, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like we said, right? It's so early, right? I mean, you have a
Hmm.
lot of movability within the ecosystem and within your project and stuff. So I mean, it's uh Helios has a lot of upside, and especially with uh how you start it in the beginning and how it runs in the beginning, I think it's going to really show what the possibilities could be in the future. Yeah.
Did we get
So
any questions in the chat?
I think a lot of people are just really just bullish, right? Yeah, yeah. I
I,
like the ideas of fail safes on fail safes. Shout out Rooted. Um, let's see.
I'm
How's
trying to
it
remember.
going?
There were a couple of questions. I think someone, in your Twitter post. Um, yeah, I think one of the questions was, can anybody participate? And yeah, anywhere from 1% to 100,000%. That'll cater to anybody as far as mining goes. And then the staking share rates minimum is one share, 420 HLX. Uh, that's accessible for anybody. I
Yeah, it's really
feel like there was
as
one more question.
yeah,
Sorry.
says. Is there a cap on HLX token supply? Is there a cap on H rank?
Oh, that's right. No, that's the same mechanics as TitanX. It's decentralized. Mining creates supply, and then we've got our buy and burn that eliminates the supply. It's always going to be fluctuating with those two mechanics. And then the H rank, there's no cap. We did dial it back quite a bit. One thing that Jake mentioned is, you know, people's ROIs on their miners were like, showing 500%, and then with the T rank bonuses, they're actually getting 1,000%, and that's kind of flooded the market more than anticipated.
Hmm.
So we like the idea of having it. I think it's a cool idea. We just throttled back the rewards just a little bit to be more sustainable.
Yep. Yeah, and with the H rank, I know in TitanX, after your stake is ended, you have that 7-day grace period, and you're going to continue to earn T rank on that. Is that going to be somewhat of the similar thing for Helios?
Yeah, you're talking about miners? Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
because a
until
lot
you
of
actually
people.
call the claim function is when it'll take that snapshot of what the global mining power is. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a really, you know, when everything was going crazy in the first 30 days, someone said that to me. And I was like, all right, well, I got a minor coming up in the next couple days. Let me just see. Right. And at that point, the T rank was going so nuts. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to let this thing sit for 5, 6 more days
Mhm.
for sure. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yep. It's going to be harder with future miners with the protocols coming out, and it's no longer do you stake or sell your TitanX. It'll be you know bunches of options to do with your TitanX, and
Yeah.
that's where the game theory gets even more complex. And uh, there's no telling how it's all going to unfold.
Yeah, it's very interesting to really think about it because in the beginning, like you said, it's either stake or sell, right? I mean, that was the only
Mhm.
two options you really had. So imagine when we have a ton of projects being built on top of it. We have, Hyper, Shogun, Helios, Dragon. I mean, it's just Titan Blaze. You just got so many of these projects being built on it that you're like, all right, I don't know what I should do with all of my Titan X. And I'm really interested to see not only, I don't think you can go wrong, too wrong with what you do with it, but it
Yeah.
time will tell, and it can get
Mhm.
crazy and pretty mind blowing when you really start diving deep. And I have a problem with thinking, short term and long term, and then extra long term. And when I hit the long term, extra long term, it is nuts. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many factors, and with the Bitcoin ETF just coming out, like this is just starting to become a normal thing for the rest of the world. And
Mhm.
we're already in ETH, in TitanX, into all these altcoins. There's just massive amounts of money waiting to come into Ethereum, and then into these protocols. And they're not gonna, they're gonna see TitanX on day 1,000, where it's going to be a lot harder to mine and a lot harder to accumulate.
Yep.
And uh,
Yeah, and then the people that put in the 3,500-day stakes, right? They're like, yeah, well, that billion or 2 billion I got in stakes,
mhm.
although diluted in the beginning, it's looking pretty nice now,
Yeah,
So, so
yeah. When a max miner only gets you a couple thousand, TitanX, like your billion's looking really solid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Uh,
and that's like the sky's the limit. It really is. And traditional money and the rest of the world hasn't even came close to scratching the surface, right? People are still
mhm.
using centralized exchange in crypto, right?
Yeah.
They don't even know DeFi, they don't even know smart contracts, they don't even know so much stuff. And so I think people that are here now are, way ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I talk to, even my friends, they're like, "Well, I'm on Binance or I'm on Coinbase. Like, where is Titan X?" And I'm like, man, it's not there. I'll tell you that it's
Uh,
not there. And although I
yeah.
think in the future we Titan X and other coins like Helios and stuff, I think it will be listed on a centralized exchange. In my opinion, in the future, it's kind of hard if we do what I think we're gonna do to not be. But time will tell, and there's a lot of hoops to jump to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's they're gonna see the trading volume and want a piece of that for sure.
Hmm.
And that's and I like Jake's mindset with if they want to list, then they can do it. But it's Uniswap will serve our functions, and that's with the true DeFi nature of things. Is we're relying on smart contracts, not centralized entities.
Yep.
And that to me, that's what brought me into the space to begin with is decentralization. And then when you talk about DeFi and being able to, they're like building blocks, and you can just build one thing on top of another and interact in every which way, all in a decentralized fashion. It just I love it. I love it. I'm all in.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
with the thought process on how things should work, I think it all makes sense, right? And the movability of DeFi and the interconnective aspects of all of it, I think it's a spider web effect, and that's what creates the stickiness of it. And me personally, I think that's why ETH is going to flip Bitcoin. I mean, it just has so much going for it that it's just inevitable. It really is.
I don't know. It's hard for me to make that prediction, but to me, my portfolio is a third Bitcoin, a third ETH, and then a third of altcoins.
Yep.
I'm not gonna miss the boat on any of this. I think both of them will do fantastic. All of it
Hmm.
will,
Yep.
but I'm not gonna be a maxi. So
Yeah, and that's fine, right? It's I still have a little bit of everything too. It's not like I don't, but it's
yeah.
it's hard for me to the smart contracts and ETH aspect of everything. It just makes too much sense. But
Mm.
Bitcoin has its own aspect and own spot and everything, and so does ETH. And uh, who's to say one's going to pass the other, right? But it's going to be hard to knock down the starter of everything. It's just been here for so long, but time will tell. It's
Have,
really hard to guess.
yeah, have you checked out the ultrasound.money website lately? Since the merge and the burning of ETH on per transaction, the supply of ETH's going down. Uh,
Yeah, we there's been a lot of deflationary days. So
I
it
think if you
says,
look just since the merge, I think it's like just under 500 days or so since the merge. And if you look at the chart, it's going down. I think at some point it levels off as at a certain point, there's you know, I think you'll have more and more miners come in if the value of it goes to a certain level.
hmm
Yeah, see, you're looking at the 7 day. If you click the top right of that graph and then zoom out a little bit, oh, yeah, look at that.
since merge,
Yeah,
and I like that.
342,000 ETH burned. That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, and it just shows what the possibilities are. I mean, this is only 500 days. Like, imagine 3,500
Mhm.
days on top of that. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
it's some mind blowing stuff, truly.
yeah, and then looking at that same chart with TitanX and seeing it just more burned than coming into supply, and just the it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that's why 95, 96 days in, just relax, right? We if you truly believe, we have a long way to go, and there's a lot that can happen. So it's gonna be super interesting to see. It really is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me run through some of these comments real quick. Victor, let's F and go. Shout out. Uh, I like the idea of fail safes on fail safes. Hello from New
Yeah.
Zealand. How's it going, guys? Let's fucking go. Really liking the look of this. Yeah, me too. I mean, that's why we're we're having dude on here, right? Uh, yeah. Bad Sports says, "How are the audits doing?"
We just got our uh, list of things that need fixed on from the first pass, basically. It's looking like it'll take us a day or so, to nothing major, to get those fixed and then resubmitted. I've already got a second auditor lined up, ready, waiting for this one to complete, and we'll just roll right into that one. So, I'm looking forward to finishing the first round of audits, this week. And then, next week, hopefully, we'll get through a second round of audits. And from there, it's just, tying up a few loose ends, still tweaking the app, the website, and do some more testing with that. But I'm getting excited, especially like, I feel like a lot of pressure is relieved with getting that first feedback from the auditor, and nothing's like, you got to rewrite half this code type of thing. And I was confident that it was going to be solid, but it just feels better knowing that, okay, we've got a few little minor edits here and there, and we're off to the races. And the second audit should be more smooth than the first one. So
yeah, are you planning to do just 2 audits, or are you going to do a third as well?
yeah, I think 2 will be sufficient. I'm using the 2 auditors that have audited TitanX, so they're already very familiar with the ecosystem and very familiar with all the mechanics of everything. And just, I feel like having 2 of those, especially with the very few issues that we had on the first round, I would prefer to launch ASAP. So to me, 2 is I feel confident with that. And these are,
Yeah.
like I said, high profile auditors that are have a solid portfolio.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like you said, right? Twos should be sufficient enough if the first one just gave you back just a couple tweaks, and like you said, instead of rewriting most of the code or something like that, a couple tweaks that kind of gives you the aspect of this should be good to go after the second one. Yeah, yeah, this will be bullish for TitanX ecosystem. Yeah, can't agree more. We are pumping. Imagine when Helios launches. Yep. We just give you another aspect of TitanX becoming more deflationary, and just another aspect of the spider web that we are currently creating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says, yes, sir. Time for a TitanX reversal. Couldn't agree. I wish. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And on my last daily update yesterday, I said, in my opinion, we found the bottom. Obviously, anything could happen, right? I'm not a financial advisor, but it just seems like February is going to be a very big month for our ecosystem and projects being released. A lot of people are getting closer and closer every single day, including Helios, right? And the more we have out, the easier it is to really grow, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Titan Blaze said support all the builders putting themselves out there for the community and DeFi. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of cojones to do it and to put yourself out there and build a project to really, it, especially with how crypto is, right? I mean, anything could happen, and to have your face on it, right, or other people's face on it and stuff, it's tough.
Yeah. This feels like a surefire play for me. I'm super bullish on TitanX, and this feels right for me. And again, none of this is financial advice, and everybody should do your own research, check out the white paper, and read it yourself, and get a full understanding and make your own decisions. I think the code will speak for itself.
Yeah, I can't agree more, and that's why I do daily videos for the most part. I mean, I got the bug. I liked it before I had Jake on, before TitanX even released, right? I was very bullish on it right when I saw the white paper, and it just had that stickiness, and I haven't left since day one. Right, I really like the way it looks, and uh, the long aspect of it. It's cool to make short term gains, and that's all good. And a lot of cryptos will do that, right? But what's going to stand the test of time? And if the code is doing what the code said it's going to do, then it should play out in my brain for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Titan Blaze donated 20 pounds. Shout out Titan Blaze. Respect to all the streamers and builders in the ecosystem. Bravo. It's incredible to see you guys keep it up. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Titan Blaze. And, I would love to have Dude back on here, and, possibly when Helios releases, maybe even before that, preemptively before it releases, or when you have the date or something like that. I'm super cool with you coming back on. I think this has been an amazing live stream. We went an hour, 15 minutes, talked about a lot of different things, and I think it's only up for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm happy to come back. And like I said, this is exciting times for everybody in the TitanX ecosystem. And I'm excited to see this launched and go over the numbers like you do for TitanX, and going over that. Yeah. I can't say it enough. I am excited.
Yeah, me too, man. And a side note, do you think you'll create a YouTube channel to go over it, or you just gonna do it on the Helios Twitter?
We have a YouTube channel, and we're not really marketing to get people to, follow us or anything, but we have one. And I'll definitely put out a walkthrough on the white paper and the website and the UI and how all that works beforehand. And then we can link that to, Twitter posts and, Telegram and all that good stuff.
Okay,
if you go to our
cool.
link tree, there's a link to all that information.
Yep. And what I'll do, I know it's on your thing, but I'll just post it in the chat as well. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, for the most part, right, I'm definitely going to be looking out for Helios, right? Obviously, I had you on the channel. I've been pretty bullish on it since I've seen the burn paper. And in the future, right, I'm hoping to add this to my daily update. I truly wouldn't mind doing hour-long either live stream daily updates or hour-long video daily updates. I'm cool with doing whatever. So if it does what I think what it's going to do, then it's definitely going to be on there. So it's very important to support TitanX, and Helios definitely does that, but also it has its own aspects that I'm very bullish on.
Yeah. And shout out to Mike Dean. You can start your stream off with the TitanX hub, and go from there and talk all things TitanX. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to it, man. I appreciate you coming on. It's been an amazing live stream. Any final words for the people watching, viewing?
No, just I would love to get as much feedback as possible. Join our follow us on Twitter, join our Telegram, come talk to us, and let us know how you feel about it. This is going to be a DAO from the beginning, and we want this to be a community project and shift and move the way the community sees fit. So come check us out.
Awesome. Well, the website and the link tree will be in the description of this video, of this live stream as well. So if you guys want to get on it, I'm going to also put their Twitter in my description as well, so you guys can see that. It's been amazing having you on. I appreciate you. And in the future, we're definitely going to do some more videos. Other than that, it's been Smooth and Crypto. I'm your host, Maxwell Smooth. Till next time. Peace.
So yeah.